tonight, Manchester Airport.
Next, it started out as a workhouse in Victorian times, and over the years it was transformed into a traditional hospital with old-fashioned wards and nurses in starched uniforms. But from next week, a brand new Whiston Hospital opens to patients.
Yes, over the next 2 nights, our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill will be looking back at the history of Whiston Hospital and taking you on a guided tour of the new wards. Here's his first report.
Grim faces from rather grim times. These dour ladies are residents of the Whiston Workhouse, opened in 1842 for the poor of the parish. Local historian Pauline Hurst says it was a place where no one wanted to go.
I had to go either out of the workhouse to do work for farms and labouring and that sort of things. And the ladies used to do the laundry, look after the children and the sick.
By 1865, the workhouse was starting to be transformed into a hospital. The architect's plans show something called an itch ward.
The children with like scurvy and skin problems, so there was obviously, because of the poor diets, they were actually in need of somebody to have a look at them properly and treat as they could.
Workhouse residents were employed as pauper nurses to care for inmates, but they were illiterate, and that caused problems.
A lot of these people weren't able to read what was on the medicine bottle or pills, so there was a lot of mishaps.
Properly trained nurses came in as new buildings appeared. There were traditional Nightingale wards, wards which are still in use today. The NHS rates the care here as excellent, but the new wards, with cubicles and ensuite loos, will make a big difference.
When you walk into the wards, Nightingale wards, they look dim and dismal, so you think you're going to get dim and dismal care. But when you walk into a purpose-built, state-of-the-art, new hospital, new ward, then you immediately feel positive and uplifted.
The new hospital opens to outpatients next week. Tomorrow night, we'll look in more detail at what they can expect. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Whiston.
That was a fire that scarred a city and led...
It's time for the second of our reports on the opening of the new Whiston Hospital. The NHS has spent £250 million transforming the old Victorian buildings into an ultra-modern hospital.
It starts opening to patients next week. Our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill has been for a sneak preview.
The outside looks very different from the Victorian buildings patients have been used to, but the important differences are inside.
So any patients that arrive that need a wheelchair to get them around the hospital, that's where we'll get them from.
Staff are being shown round ahead of next week's opening. The wards are light and spacious. Intensive care units will have the most up-to-date equipment.
I think it's going to reassure the patients firstly because they're going to be in a brand new clean environment, and I think it's got 21st modern day facilities.
The children's wards have artwork created by children.
Well, about 3 years ago we went out to the local primary schools and asked the children there what would make them happy or feel happy, think happy if they came into hospital for a day. What would they like to think about? And they said a day at the park, a day at the beach and a day at the safari park.
A lot of thought's gone into the planning of the new hospital. These gardens were planted 3 years ago before building work began. Now that the hospital is ready to receive the patients, the gardens are ready for the patients to enjoy. The new hospital's taken 9 years to plan and 3 to build. Vicky Frith is Whiston's longest-serving staffer, 43 years here.
If we brought one of those matrons that lived all those years ago back here, they'd think they'd stepped into something in the future. I don't think they'd be able to believe what facilities we have.
Cupboards are labelled ready for equipment to be transferred to the new hospital. Outpatients will be here next week. Inpatients will be brought through a heated tunnel in 2 weeks' time. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Whiston.
Just enjoying that black and white photo, weren't we?
We were indeed.
Discussing what it must have been like there back then, yeah.
Still to come.